Hi everyone, welcome to Hunters Connect. Today I'm going to cover a few basic hunting tactics. So I'm going to cover 3 of the most common types of hunting, that being ambush hunting, spot and stalk, and calling. So these 3 different tactics are really going to depend on where you're hunting and what species you're hunting. With ambush hunting, you're identifying where either an animal is traveling, that could be something like just seeing a game trail that's heavily used, or knowing where an animal's feeding and then setting up somewhere along that path and you're just waiting for them to come by you. Ambush style hunting using a tree stand or a ground blind is really popular in the Midwest and in the East, especially for animals like turkeys and white-tailed deer. So if you're hunting one of those species, this can be a really good tactic, or if you're hunting an area where you're limited to a smaller parcel of land where you don't have the ability to just roam around and explore. There's a lot of different types of tree stands and also ground blinds. Some of the benefits of using like a pop-up ground blind like this is that you're completely enclosed. So that means you have really good concealment from the animal, including you have these mesh windows that you can utilize. And also it's just going to keep you warmer and drier in inclement weather. But you don't necessarily need to go out and buy a ground blind. A lot of people just make them when they're in the field. You can use sticks and brush to just construct some sort of blind to sit down on the ground behind and conceal yourself from the animal that you're hunting. For tree stands, one of the benefits of tree stands is that you actually get up elevated off the ground, so you're going to get a couple things from that. First, you're going to get a better vantage point and also just a better field of view, being able to see more of the country. And also it's going to just keep your scent up higher, less likely for a deer or whatever you're hunting to be able to smell you. And so there's many different types of tree stands. A few to mention would be a ladder stand, a climber, or a hang-on stand. And all 3 of these have different pros and cons, and it's just going to come down to what you need for the situation that you're in. A ladder stand is good if you're hunting a place over and over again because it's pretty permanent. It has a ladder, it's easy to climb, but they're also heavy to move around and get into position. A climber tree stand is good for being more versatile. Say you're hunting public land and you don't want to leave your tree stand overnight in an area that's not your own private property. This can be good because you can just go in, find a tree that suits it, and be able to climb up and hunt for just that day. Hang-on tree stand can also be a good option for you. It's just going to come down to what you need and where you're hunting. So next we're going to talk about spot and stalk hunting. Spot and stalk hunting is when you get up to a vantage point and utilize your optics to locate an animal. Then you're making a stalk on that animal to get in position and hopefully get a shot. So spot and stalk hunting is really conducive to if you're hunting out west, whether that be elk, mule deer, pronghorn, or some other big game animal. Because a lot of times out west, you're hunting just a super vast landscape, so you want to cover as much of the country as you can. So rather than wandering around aimlessly through the mountains or through the plains, you're finding a good spot to sit up, whether that be at first light or last light, and just identify an animal that you want to go after. If you want to try spot and stalk hunting for the animal that you're pursuing, it's really important to look and identify higher places in the terrain that are going to give you the best vantage point for the landscape. So once you've gotten to a good vantage point, then you're just going to sit, be patient, and utilize your optics. So it's really a good idea to bring something like a tripod that you can mount binoculars on, because that's just going to help keep your optics steady, which means you're going to see more animals and be more comfortable glassing longer periods of time. So once you've located an animal from your vantage point, now it's time to stalk them. So there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, you're going to want to conceal your movement as much as possible. That includes using topography, brush, or any sort of trees to try to hide any movement between you and that animal. And almost more importantly, you really need to pay attention to the wind. You want to make sure the wind is coming directly into your face so that you're not spooking the animal out of the area by revealing your scent to them. So the last tactic that I want to cover is calling. So not every animal is going to be receptive to a call, but a few that are commonly called would be elk, waterfowl, or turkeys. For example, this is a turkey box call, and this is a diaphragm call used for elk. So there's a couple reasons why you might consider calling. One is just going to be to locate where an animal is. This is commonly used for elk. You'll let out a location bugle, and then you can identify where a bull elk is. A second reason for calling is to try to bring that animal closer to where you are so that you can get a shot. Whether you're calling in waterfowl into a decoy spread or maybe just bringing a gobbler within range, that's another great reason for calling an animal. So how you actually go about calling an animal is going to vary greatly upon the time of year and the species that you're pursuing. So if you're chasing elk, you're going to be doing cow calls and bugles, which is so much different than if you're chasing turkeys. So we'll have more videos that go more in depth to calling specific species. So that is just a quick introduction and an overview of the different hunting tactics. As you gain experience as a hunter, you'll figure out which tactics best suit you depending upon where you're hunting and which species you're most interested in. Thanks for watching.